Sensitive news. Amari Hodges, who was killed November 12th down at Hall in Kalamazoo. If you'll recall, he was found by officers in his vehicle, killed by gunfire. We've charged a 18-year-old man, Darius Jones, in that homicide, and very thankful for the hard work of the detectives working diligently to get those answers for the family, and glad that we're able to move forward towards justice for Amari. December 6th, officer-involved shooting. So Saturday we had an officer-involved shooting, the 15 or 1600 block of Tremont. That's the presentation that we're going to give today. As I say, we're not going to come to a conclusion of whether this is in line with policy or the law today. What I want to do is provide you the preliminary information that the Grand Rapids Police Department possesses in the interest of transparency. Obviously, this individual lost his life, so it's a very serious officer-involved shooting. Want to be as transparent as possible about it. I will answer questions I'm able to answer. Those I can't, I'll tell you why I can't answer them. I'll let the video speak for itself. I'll take questions after. One thing is, as you watch it, and we can discuss further after, both vehicles, there's two police cars involved in this. Both vehicles are struck by gunfire. You'll see some significant damage on one of the vehicles. Actually, a lot of the damage is because of the officer is right-handed. As he dove for cover, he actually sent some rounds through the windshield, which is not altogether uncommon. It's the second OIS we've had since I've been here that the officer was in a position to fire rounds through the windshield. So you see some of the damage on the vehicle, which we've included pictures of that. You will see some of that is from the officer, but there are incoming rounds as well. So we'll roll this and let it speak for itself, and then I'll take questions. We always include the warning for individuals who access this later, and for you, and of course for the media as they broadcast the warning. This includes sensitive material, and in this case, I really want to highlight that because this is a very alarming video to watch. So. Video is going to show the two in-car cameras and the two original officers' body-worn camera. There's one officer's body-worn camera who we didn't take the time to splice and put together, mainly because the location that he's standing doesn't capture the incident as the others do. So these are the best angles that we have, the best video that we have on this. And again, we're very serious about this warning.
He's slow to stop. Closer to him. Please stop. Shut off the car! Shut off the car! Shut off the car! Turn the car off! Turn the car off! Car! Jump back! Slow us down. Closer. Closer to him. Go. Please stop. Shut off the car! Shut off the car! Shut off the car! Turn the key off! Cover! Cover! Drop it! Drop the gun! Crawl away from the gun! Connor, are you okay? You good? Are you okay? I'm good.
We're facing southbound towards Mount Mercy. Suspect down. I don't see the gun.
Sure you're good, dude? All right.
Thanks, Matt. So, a terrifying reminder of how dangerous domestic incidents are. Very thankful that no police officers were struck. Obviously, there was a potential for that in this case. A tragic ending with the man passed away from his injuries. Officers did provide first aid on scene, transported to Butterworth, and the man was pronounced there. So with that, if there's any questions, happy to.
Chief, do you see
Yes,
any?
Oh,
Chief, the
sorry.
handgun, do you know exactly what type of handgun? And I know you probably don't have the answer totally on this, but the total number of shots fired from the suspect and police.
You know, as as we always separate the investigation between the state police and us, the information I have sort of ends with the amount of information that the Grand Rapids police officers have. So I know it looks like 2 of the officers at least fired every round of their guns, so 30-plus rounds towards the suspect. From watching the video, it looks to me between 8 to 12 rounds fired in the direction of the officers, but MSP would have that information. I could tell it's a semi-automatic handgun that the suspect is using, but I didn't get the information from MSP yet. Hopefully that'll be, in fact, it will be included in their investigation, as will an actual round count of how many rounds were fired.
Do you see anything else that your officers could have done? I know it's early in the investigation, but the guy coming out with the gun, firing, is there anything else that you can see them doing differently?
Interestingly, the driver of the first vehicle is in training, and he's in training with a field training officer. I've told most, if not all of you, we had a big hiring push to try and get to our budgeted strength to get back to a reasonable number of officers in the city, and because of that, we have dozens of officers in training. So one of the things that you'll see as you watch the video is the field training officer is actually giving the trainee instructions, pull a little closer, do this. So I looked at it from a training standpoint of how's our field training officer doing it. And of course, going back throughout the day, you'll see from one of the first slides said that the first information we received on this was about noon or so, that there was a individual domestic abuse relationship armed with a handgun, and the officers took 4+ hours to try and sort it out in a peaceful way. As you can see, obviously this is a traffic stop. This wasn't confronting this individual at the house. We are trained to use time as a tactic. At some point in time, when you have information that an individual is armed with a propensity to use violence in a situation like this, when he did leave the residence and start traveling, it would be neglectful for the officers not to stop that individual. God forbid he locates the family member that he initially threatened or others, that would be on us. So from what I can see, short answer to your question is no. I think thankful for that training officer. Seemed like he's doing a great job. I know I have spoken to all 3 involved officers. They're all rattled, I would say, and my one concern again with this officer who's just a few months out of in-house training here, is this going to be his last day at work? Is he going to come into work on Monday and tell me that this job's not for me? So, and I wouldn't blame him if he did, because this is one of those things most officers across the country go their entire careers without being involved in a situation like this. And I'll tell you, to have 2 of our brand new officers involved in shootings this terrifying in such a short period of time is out of the norm, and just highlights how serious a job we have here. And but to answer your question, no.
Had any of these officers been involved in any of the previous officer-involved shootings?
Not since I've been here, no. And like I said, one of them's just brand new off the street. We recently had the 4 from the officer-involved shootings going back to September. They have all just returned to duty, and they're in their training phases, so they're not back on the street yet. So the short answer is no, and I don't believe the field training officer or the other officer have been in previous shootings since I've been here.
So that training was driving the car?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that supervisor who was training that officer was not involved in the last one?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Correct. Yeah, I think they're different shifts altogether.
And all 3 of the officers fired shots?
That's correct. Yep.
And you said 30 shots?
I'd say minimum 30. I don't know. MSP does an official round count, and they'll give but from watching the video, I can see that it looks like at least the 2 officers that we watched body worn camera they at least conducted a reload on their guns. As they're going back, you can see their gun is in slide lock, and so you can see the top of the gun is slid back. That means they're either out of ammunition or for some other reason it's like that, and you can see they reloaded. So if I had to guess from the sound of it, I'd probably say 45 rounds one way and 12 rounds another, but that would just be guess. We'll get us an actual scientific number eventually.
Rounds, not the 30 initially said, maybe about
If I had to guess, yeah, but I could be wrong.
What is the
At the-
protocol
how many
for a
times he was
domestic
hit?
violence situation?
At least 3. He was hit at least 3 times. I know that. I did go to the scene. I talked to some of the officers there who rendered aid. I know there were, as I was responding, I was listening to the transmission on the radio. I heard 2 officers apply tourniquets. But I know that at least three times he was hit. Go ahead, Matt.
When there is a gun involved in a situation, you have a officer responding. What is the protocol when making a traffic stop? When you know this person said or from what we understood, the woman had called and said this man had a gun, was willing to harm himself. What is the protocol in those kind of situations? We
Yeah.
saw all 3 officers with guns.
Yeah, so every traffic stop obviously is a scary situation because of the unknown. So if I was to conduct a traffic stop and just someone who drifted through a stop sign or something on the way out of here, there's less of a heightened fear in my mind or worried, but I want to operate safely. When you get information that there is potentially a deadly weapon involved, that fear is heightened. And so we take steps to make sure that we add safe measures, not only for the police officers, but also for that individual. So in that way, one of the first things you see the officers take their time. They didn't jump out of the car. They didn't run out and try to pull this individual outside. They stopped. They were giving verbal instructions. Using time as a tactic is huge and slow everything down. Obviously, action is faster than reaction, so the officers had their firearms in high ready or low ready position, whatever it is, so to save the moments that it takes to draw a handgun out of the holster. So that was all proper, and there's no, it's impossible to contemplate every scenario that we encounter in policing to write a policy or procedure on everything. So we train. In a situation like this, where it's a traffic stop, an individual has threatened someone with a firearm, you're going to take your time, you're going to stay back, you're going to use that distance shielding cover, and that's what you saw in action there.
For Network 180, how often are they riding with officers, especially on a situation like
So we have 3 full-time officers, and the one thing with our awesome co-response team is we take everybody's safety very seriously, and what we would not do is put, I didn't see anywhere in this that co-response would have been inserted in this situation. Once that scene is safe, that's when our obviously unarmed co-response team would come in and have those conversations. Here, this is something a little different than a standard co-response call per individual mental health crisis. This is a domestic violence situation. So could there have been an opportunity after the fact to involve co-response? Certainly, but it wasn't appropriate in this case.
How close were your officers to getting hit?
They were extremely close. So as you'll see, if you take a look closely at the pictures, the primary vehicle, I don't know if you'll be able to slow down the video, but you'll see the officer that ends up firing through his windshield. Because, as I said, he's right-handed, he's diving out of cover, fires through his windshield. The first round that you see break that windshield looks in slow motion on video to be incoming, so inches to miss him. Now, for the other vehicle, you can see there's strikes just above the glass on the passenger side, so a little bit further distance, but I also believe it was struck in the spotlight, perhaps. We'll get that breakdown from MSP. We can only see what we can from the video and the pictures. Those cars are actually downstairs, so we looked at them, but MSP has better scientific information at this point because they've done all the testing to know how many went in and out. But short answer to that is extremely close to getting hit.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I saw a rifle in the video.
That's right. Yeah, the third officer had a rifle, and that's part of the reason why his body-worn camera isn't as good, just because it takes up the frame of the video. Yes, it did. Yeah, we fired it numerous times, I believe. Sorry.
Was this
Go ahead.
suicide by cop?
If this is suicide by cop, I don't know that we'll ever know. Unfortunately, we're never going to be able to get into this person's head and find out what he was thinking. Obviously, MSP is going to be talking with the family members, talking with people who might have information, so maybe something else will come out. But this is a little bit different than, say, Hank Weimer's situation, where he had a harmless lighter. and put himself in a situation where he was looking like he was a threat to the police when he wasn't. In this case, obviously, this individual was firing numerous rounds downrange, almost murdering police officers. So it's a little bit different from a suicide when you're setting out to murder someone, I'd say.
Do you know if this couple had, because we heard domestic violence, this couple was known by officers at all?
I wouldn't say known by these officers. I know they do. This individual, the deceased individual, does have a history, a criminal history. I know that Grand Rapids Police have responded in the past to domestic incidents involving this individual, but I don't know that any of these 3 officers had any personal connection. Certainly the brand new officer did.
Do you know how many times they've been called out for domestic violence?
I'd say multiple times, but I do not have the number. I know MSP will be digging into all that information and probably be able to give you specific numbers.
With the same victim?
Right.
And just
Yeah.
to be clear, that was it the officer in training who was firing through the windshield?
That's correct. Yeah. And just to be clear, I'm not there. No, I didn't see anything wrong. I know I'm not coming to a policy conclusion on the actual use of force, but on the tactic of firing through a window, firing through your windshield, it's something that I've seen here already in the 3.5 years I've been here. Acceptable tactic. It's you take the steps that you have available to you, and when rounds are coming that close to you, really as part of the vehicle, the door is practically meaningless as cover. That A-pillar will generally stop a handgun round, but it's a very small piece of shielding, so then you have the engine block, and to make yourself low and get down there is a safe and proper tactic, and to send those rounds to the windshield might not be as effective as if you were outside holding your gun with 2 hands and shooting at a non-moving target, but you're put in a situation you are at through the actions of someone else, and I didn't see anything wrong with that.
You had mentioned earlier that there had been 10 officer-involved shootings since you started, or now 11.
Correct.
Can you talk about it? I mean, that,
Well, how about 3 in the past few months? I think I was told here when I got hired that we had 3 officer-involved shootings in the decade prior to me being here. Part of that is the dangers in the profession. I know assaults on police officers increased certainly after 2020, when sort of respect for the rule of law, respect for policing was at an all-time low. And I think we saw that across the country. And I think we still see in Grand Rapids here with some situations when I review body-worn camera video, when individuals interact with police in extremely disrespectful way. We talked about it with the Kalamazoo Walgreens when we had a press briefing about that, where individuals are told over and over, you will be arrested if you do not do this lawful thing I'm asking you to do. And so this sort of lawless behavior, I think I've seen it subside since 2020, but you wouldn't be able to tell that from the past 3 officer-involved shootings we have. Now, Ken, I know we've spoken at length about Xavier Troutman's incident, and I think that was all a mental health component. So I think that's a sort of unique situation outside of what's going on in the profession. But to have 2 individuals turn and unexpectedly fire multiple rounds trying to murder police officers in just a couple months is very unsettling, terrifying for the police officers, and out of the norm.
Do you plan on giving the suspect's name, considering what happened?
I'll leave that up to Michigan State Police. I don't know what they have going on as far as we keep a very tight distance with each other, and now that that's their investigation, it's their prerogative to do so, and I don't want to step on their toes.
When your officers know that they might be going into a situation where someone is having a mental episode or suicidal, how does that change the calculus for how they respond?
Well, I like to think that we handle every situation as safely as we can. All it does is make you think of different options. Obviously, if you're interacting with somebody that has that's in mental health crisis, that's going to give you different calculations of steps you can take for who can I call to help in a situation that you're responding to an individual with mental health crisis. You might want that co-response team ready to respond right there with you. You might want the ambulance to be right there with you if you think the person's going to need to go to the hospital in that manner. So just sort of opens your mind to other scenarios of steps you can take, but because there's so many unknowns in our profession, all of that possibly could come up really at any call. If you think about the sort of calls that we respond to, You know, when we're investigating a homicide, could you say that every homicide offender has something mentally, a mental health issue going on? Probably so. So a lot of the issues that we have with individuals with criminal activity, there's a connection to mental health there too.
When it comes to for the medical aid, when it comes to that situation, I
Yeah.
know you said your officers responded quickly. How long does it typically allow for an ambulance to get there?
So the ambulance will not approach until the police on scene or the fire department on scene says it's safe. Situation like this, you could hear the officers as they're trying to give instructions, roll away from the gun, you know, let me drop the gun. I think you hear one of the officers say, I can't see the gun. I believe at some point in time when he fell, he actually fell on top of the gun. So now they're saying, where is that gun? At the time he was conscious and communicating with the officers, so they were actually able to get him roll away from the gun before they approached. Once the officers get on the air and say, the gun's secure, send an EMS and they'll come right in.
So
Was
in
it
this situation,
alcohol
how
or
long
was
did
it
it take?
something else?
Say that again?
How long would it take in this situation? Obviously, we don't see after the situation.
I don't know how long it takes, but it could take anywhere. I mean, depending on how compliant the individual is.
In this specific case, how long did it take?
Well, in this specific case, I don't believe there was a call for EMS until the actual shooting happened. So if it was something that you had ambulance on standby, in this case, it might have taken 10 or 15 minutes for the ambulance to show up. However, I know Grand Rapids Fire Department was first on scene, and they're usually a lot faster because there's more firehouses in proximity than the ambulances are staged.
Was it
Sorry, go ahead, John.
Was it alcohol? I mean, I know they have to wait for toxicology, and it's MSP is investigating, but what are you?
Just from the information I know, there was a report that this individual had been using alcohol, yes, but I don't have anything other than the fact that call came into our dispatch upstairs. That's the only knowledge that I have of
When a
that.
high-risk stop like that, was there any thought of or talk about getting the tactical unit to, with a high-risk stop like that?
And as far as tactical unit, you would mean like our special response team, et cetera. If it, you would have to plan far ahead for that. Number one, they're not always working. Number two, getting the armored vehicle up there. It's a long way to go to bring the armored vehicle wherever it is. We usually don't, but not usually. We do not patrol in the armored vehicle. We use it on an as-needed basis, usually for search warrants. And planned operations. And this was not planned. These officers who were waiting to develop a plan to actually deal with this situation inside the house, talking about perhaps we'll get a search warrant. We just want to make sure that the family was going to be safe. They didn't know that this individual was going to leave the house and get in his car at that point in time. They have a responsibility to take police action and put a stop to investigate that domestic violence, and I think the time just wasn't there. If I could go back in a perfect world and do it over again, I would love to have all those officers in heavy vests and in an armored vehicle, so there was no danger to them. But extremely thankful that all three of them were uninjured by the gunfire.
Now, obviously we heard probably nearly half a dozen times of your officers telling the individual to turn off his car. Do you know whether or not they heard him say anything?
I can't tell from that video, and I don't have any independent knowledge of that. Yeah. Anybody else? Yep.
I was wondering if we could talk about Jones too.
Yeah, if you have any questions about Amari's killing too, yeah.
What does it go through your mind knowing we're 12th homicide now? And how many have been solved this year?
13. I believe that's either 9 or 10. Okay. I believe it's 9. Go ahead, sorry, Ken. So motive is one of those things that I don't have a solid answer for that. I'm hopeful that through the court process that will come out. Hopefully this individual will be communicative and be able to give the family some more answers than what they have already. Because right now what I know is that there was some sort of transaction, I believe involving shoes, perhaps a gun, and whether it was a trade or deal gone bad, or there was some other motive. I know that there was an arrangement to meet there in the area of Kalamazoo and Hall, and ended in gunfire. So, but I don't have further than that.
To buy shoes.
Yeah, I know that was part of the transaction as far as we've understood. I think expensive shoes.
Do you
Yeah.
know if Darius Jones is known by your officers?
That, you know what, I don't know that. That's a good question. I don't know. I should look up on that
'Cause
before I came
know
out here.
From what I heard through court, he had a long QB record. So.
Possibly so. I know he's 18 years old, so only so much I could probably talk about anyway, but that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah.
On the new officer in the last shooting, is he back or is he?
Yes. Yep. just back, yeah, in fact, they were just in the building, I believe, today. Just back in training and getting up to speed, and they'll be back on the road soon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that Pat shooting that happened, what, a couple of weeks ago? Those two officers are back on the force?
That's right, yeah, November 11th was that last one, yeah, they're back. Yep.
Do you have a feeling that the guy's not gonna come back from this one?
No, I think, well, I don't want to put any pressure on him if he watches this, but I'll just say I wouldn't blame anyone once you're in a situation like that to sort of reevaluate your career, because he came literally within inches of getting killed. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Yep.